Welcome to the reading room. It is June 1st, so it's time for those slew of videos of TBRs and wrap-ups. I'm going to start off with my June TBR list, and it's a little different because this month I'm going to be out of town visiting family, so I'll be on the road quite a bit. So what I do is I have a bin and I just kind of put books in there that I would like to read. I'm going to have probably a little bit extra reading time this month. And, well, let's get to it. First thing I'm going to possibly read is I've been working through a lot of the Dune canon this year. This is book 3 of, it's called The Battle of Corrin. This was written by Brian Herbert, who is Frank Herbert's son, the author of the original Dune saga, and Kevin J. Anderson. The series tells the story of the jihad against the thinking machines that were trying to enslave humans. This is book 3 and it's a wrap up. And the reason that I would need to read this is to finish the Dune saga. When Frank Herbert passed away, he had left notes behind for novels that he wanted to write because Chapter House Dune, the last book that he wrote, ended on not necessarily a cliffhanger, but you could tell that there was more story that he wanted to tell. So his son and Kevin J. Anderson, who found his notes, came up with 2 books to finish out, Sandworms of Dune, and then The Hunters of Dune. However, before that they could write these and put them out to the publish them, they had to tell the story of the Butlerian Jihad, the crusade against the machines. So they're generally quick reads. I figure they'd be easy to throw in a car, or when I'm sitting around in either Yuma or Arizona with not much to do, I can just pick these up and read them. So those are a couple of options that I have on my June TBR. Last month I read Dr. No after watching the movie, and it had been some time since I had read the Ian Fleming James Bond novels. So I decided to read them over the course of the rest of the year and read them in publication order. So it's going to bring me back to, I'm going to read Casino Royale this month. It's the first of the series, and there has been a few adaptations of this. The most popular is the Daniel Craig Casino Royale, which was his first foray as James Bond. So we'll be reading Casino Royale. That's actually a for sure. Some of these are possible reads. Some of them are for sure reads. Let me see what this one is here. Okay, these 2 books go together. The BookTube channel, The Reading Chronicles, she discussed these books, and it's really weird because the video I watched after that, which was The Daily Stoic, which is Ryan Holiday's Stoicism channel, was talking about some books that he thought were the best books published within the last 25 years, this century, I guess you could say. And they are The Warmth of Other Suns, and this is by Isabel Wilkerson. And this one won a, National Book Critics Circle Award for nonfiction. And it tells the story of the migration of black people from the South up into the North and over out through the West. So it's kind of odd when I come across something where I watched 2 videos back to back that brought up these books. Immediately went to Amazon, and they were on sale for like $10, $11, so I had to pick them up. And then the other one is Cast, and that is The Origin of Our Discontents. Let me just say I'm a little annoyed because when I buy a book, I really, same author, same publishing company, I really want them to be the same size so when they go on my shelf, but they did not deliver. So I'm definitely reading The Warmth of Suns in June, and then depending on how the reading goes, I will also try to read Cast. Another thing that affects my reads when I read when I'm visiting family and out on the road is I do hit up used bookstores. I will go to thrift stores and look for books there. So it's possible I'll come across something that I feel I have to read right then and right there. So that's why I do have a very flexible list of TBRs for June. This next book is not a flexible book. It's actually the book I am currently reading, and it is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I'm so bad at pronouncing authors' names. This was recommended by Isabel over at Isabel Reads. I was reading a series called The Books of Babel. It's a fantasy series, and we were just chatting, and the Tower of Babel is one of my favorite biblical lores. I just like that story of how all the languages came about because these men trying to build this tower. So she pulled this off her shelf, recommended it. I'm already a little bit in. I'm actually very enamored. I did start this a few days ago, and then I took a break because there was something else I wanted to read. In this story, which is a fantasy story, there is a Chinese boy from Canton that is, I guess you could say, rescued and taken to London by a professor at Oxford. And he makes him study Greek, Latin languages to do translations. And the magic system seems to run off of silver. The first few examples was there were silver bars, and they had something that was printed on them in a different language, and based off what that said is what the silver did. And the one that for some reason just sticks out is one that was used just to keep food warm. So that's an innocuous use. So I'm sure, as a lot of fantasy books go with magic systems, it does start off with something not necessarily kind of low key, and then just builds up with what the power of the magic system can do. In this book, as he goes to Oxford and begins his studies, starts to deal with the colonialism of England going into China in some shape or fashion. And he has to kind of choose because he's Chinese, but he's been raised in London, England. And so far, it's shaping up to be one of the best reads of the year. I didn't want to stop reading it, but in one of my other videos, I'll explain why I did take a break real quick to read something else. But this is what I'm currently reading for June. Also, okay, so in relation to the Babel book, I mentioned the fantasy series, The Books of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. The first two books, Senlin Ascends and The Arm of the Sphinx, I've already read, and these are the last two books in the series. And what Josiah Bancroft has done is he has created a fictionalized version of the Tower of Babel, and it's very, very interesting. So in the first book, a teacher and his wife from a far off kind of countryside place go to visit the Tower of Babel. He's got a book called The Everyman's Tower of Babel, a few nods to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I enjoyed. And in the very first chapter of book one, they kind of give you the rules of what to do when you're visiting the Tower of Babel. And he breaks one of the rules, which is don't lose eye contact with the person you're visiting with. So the idea of the series is he has to navigate this Tower of Babel and all the political, socioeconomical things that are happening within there to find his wife. And it's really interesting because it's not just a quick get in there, I'm going to find my wife. At the point, I've read the first two books, and it's about a year and a half since his arrival at the Tower of Babel. What is phenomenal about this series so far is the world building within the Tower of Babel itself, because it's unknown how many floors there are, and he's currently, I believe, Josiah, I've been through 5 or 6 different floors with characters, small amounts of exposition about what some of the other floors are. Some of them are extremely different from one another, but as the series, the 2 books I've read progressed, you start to see how they're interrelated, and you kind of get a rough idea where this is going. The only thing I haven't liked about it so far is it is difficult to travel inside the Babel within the Tower of Babel itself. So there are ports outside the tower to allow you to access. They're called ringdoms, and it's airship travel that gets you there. So on the outside of the Tower of Babel itself, there is the airships, and it brings in kind of a pirate theme to it, which I'm not overly crazy about. The series so far has shined when the characters that Josiah Bancroft has created are in the actual Tower of Babel on whatever floor. But I am going to finish the final 2 books. It's called The Hod King, Book 3. And then Book 4 and the last book is The Fall of Babel. And once I finish the series, because I am enjoying it, I do plan on doing a series overview on it for my channel. Let's see. Another series I read, grab the second book here. I read, I don't have it with me, it's called the Green Bones Saga. It's a series I found because a lot of people, they have all three books on their shelf. A lot of the booktubers I've watched. Book one's called Jade City, and it's green, and so it's was just an interesting. It drew my eye a couple of times into booktubers. You know, when I'm looking at I love looking at booktubers' bookshelves that they have in the background and what books they have, and oh, I've read that book, or what's that book, and just for some odd reason, even though they're very just plain Jane, nothing fancy, just caught my eye. So I got the first book, Jade City, and read it. Initially did not think I was going to get through it, or I was going to finish it. I don't DNF a lot of books, but I did not think I was going to invest myself in the rest of the series. However, about the 25% mark, the book turned on itself in a way that just sucked me in, and the characters and the author's fondly, the characters she creates and works on are outstanding. The gist of the series is you have this island called Kekuan, and they are the only place where you can get jade. And anybody that's kind of naturally born into the island is able to use jade. It's the magic system in the book. It gives you, I guess, enhanced fighting abilities. I somewhat get a Matrix vibe, but not so sci-fi and mystical. It just strength and various things that jade allows you to do. However, not everybody can yield jade. So there's two nations that have popped up over the course of the first book that I read that want to use jade for military uses. So there's a drug that allows people to do that. Book one, Jade City, deals with a clan war, which is the two of the clans' crime, organized crime, is basically how the fantasy series is structured, and they go to war. Very reminiscent. The author Fonda Lee researched Godfather, Scarface. She read a lot about the Triad, the Mafia, the Yakuza, and she's built the books on that. And there was initially a turnoff, but the way she does the characters, even though they are not typed, what's the word? They're common characters you see in organized crime movies. The hothead, the wise person, the person that doesn't want to be involved but gets swept in. And she takes those characters and gives them some additional layers that really drew me in and decided that I wanted to finish the book. The first book deals strictly on the island itself, but the author does set up that at some point in time, these other nations that want jade, are getting jade illegally, are producing a drug that lets them use jade. It's going to probably come full circle. So I did grab book 2, which is Jade War, and then I grabbed the book 3, which is Jade Legacy, and I do plan on reading these. And I do plan on finishing out the series because the first book was so good, and the way the author built this island and then what's going on outside of it and the history of it, it just was, it drew me in once I got invested in the characters. So let's see here. Found this book at Barnes & Noble. The author's name is Harlan Ellison, and this book is called Greatest Hits. It's a lot of short stories. And for the longest time, I had this book in my cart on Amazon, but it would come in stock, go out of stock, come in stock, go out of stock. And it had been on there so long, I forgot why I put it on there. If I'm not mistaken, because all the stories are sci-fi slanted, it was a story to deal with AI. So I'm pretty sure that's why I threw it on there. I know Isabel over at Isabel Reads also just picked up a copy of this, and I do plan on reading this for June. All right, another thing I do have going on in June is I signed up for a kind of a course. It's an in-depth guide to Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. I have read it before, and it was due for a reread. And this course came up. It's through the Daily Stoic, again, Ryan Holiday, who I mentioned earlier. And he goes through each book, relevant passages, talks about Marcus Aurelius, what's going on around these times. And I've got two different translations. This translation is by Gregory Hayes, and it's the most popular. It takes out a lot of the thous and these and makes the language and the material very accessible. But I'm also reading this translation by, let's see, I don't remember who translated this one. Martin Hammond, who I don't know. So I'm reading them both while I'm going through the modules of the course discussing it. So I will, again, that gets me a reread of Marcus Aurelius Meditations. For anybody that's not familiar with this, his personal journals that he wrote. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome, one of the last good emperors of Rome. And it's Stoic thought, but it's philosophy that's accessible, and it makes just a lot of sense. It's something I've been enamored with and read a lot about it, and it is a phenomenal book. And one of the things that makes the book so good is he wasn't writing this for anybody other than himself. So it'll be a good thing just to have on my road trip. And the interesting thing about Meditations, what makes it such a remarkable book, is it was never intended for publication. Marcus Aurelius didn't write this, as a philosophy book for other people to read. The note that I have in here is it's not for the reader, it's for the author. It's his personal journal. And Ryan Holiday quite a bit mentions that Marcus Aurelius probably would be horrified if he knew that it had been published and how revered it is as a book. So yes, of course, with my How to Read Marcus Aurelius Meditations, that will be on my June TBR. The last book that I have on my TBR, I came across this. I don't remember the booktuber off the top of my head, but it's one of those where the cover got me, and then just the plot, of course, got me. I'm starting to worry about this Black Box of Doom by Jason Pargin. That cover is just so cool. The idea behind the book is a gentleman who has some, I don't want to say mental health issues because I haven't gotten that far into the book, but he takes medications and he's socially awkward, is offered $200,000 to transport this black box across to Washington, D.C. for the 4th of July. And there's rules. He can't ask what's in the box. He can't have any phones or anything that allows GPS tracking. Now, I originally got the sample of this on my Kindle and read it and was immediately enamored and was going to get the Kindle version to read because the hardback price was ridiculous. I didn't want to pay the $31. But in essence, it's a road trip story. So I thought it would be kind of fun to do a road trip vlog as I read this. The first parts that I have read from the sample were outstanding. You got a couple different characters. You have himself, the girl who convinces him to do this, his father, which is like, he's up to no good. Now I have to go after him. Retired FBI agent. There's somebody that's looking for the box. So, and there's already been a few little hints here and there just in the first part that I have read that something spectacular happens. One of his, he does live streams. One of his live streams becomes one of the most viewed things. There's a little hint about a corner of the box itself was sold to somebody that collects true crime memorabilia. So it's going to be interesting to see toward the end of the novel, is Jason Pargin building us up for like a big, oh wow, I can't believe that's horrible, or is there some kind of plot twist or something there? So I'm going to be doing a reading vlog of this while I am on my road trip. I will be reading this in conjunction with Babel, more in the car, hotel rooms, things of that nature. And so that is what I've got. This is my road trip bin. I always put books in there that I want to take to read, and I leave room for books that I buy. So, and I picked this up at Goodwill for like $30, and it's served me for I think this will be the 3rd or 4th road trip that I've utilized it in. So that is my June TBR, at least my planned TBR. A few of the books I am 100% going to read. A few of them are just there in case I get through them quicker, or in the course of shopping at used bookstores and thrift stores, I don't find anything else that I feel I need to read right then and there. So if you've read any of these books, I would love to hear what you think in the comments. If you're a booktuber and you've read any of these books and you have a video, I would love to watch and see what you thought of it. So drop the link in the comments as well. And I'll have more videos while I'm on the road and in Arizona and or California. I'm sure there'll be opportunities for me to pop the camera out, hit record, and talk about books. Until the next time, thanks for coming to the reading room, and I hope your next reading experience is a wonderful reading experience.